This is Andrew Hada from Nothing Ventured Media. I want to tell you about all the feature films we've made and how you can see them right now. The last one is a zombie drama about how a pandemic and isolation could drive a group of people mad. When the virus hits, John finds himself alone and scared until he meets Michael, his protector. But when Karina, another survivor, enters the mix, everything that John and Michael knew will be turned on its head. The last one's is a zombie virus movie that's somehow even more relevant today. Plus, it has zombies. Check it out. Borderland is a mexploitation film about living in El Paso. When Sarah finds herself in debt to the cartels, she has until sunrise to find some missing monies with the help of her executioner. Borderland is a true midnight movie and a lot of fun. The documentary Humble Spirits tells the story of the Hahn family, including champion Jennifer Hahn from El Paso, Texas. The entire Hahn family has grown up in the combat sports and has helped shape who they are both in and out of the ring. Humble Spirits, a family of fighters, is the perfect documentary for boxing fans of all ages. Finally, The Empty Space, winner of multiple awards, including the Sacramento Horror Film Festival's Best of the Best, is a cosmic horror about Amy Andrews, who's dealing with anxiety and depression after a violent attack that killed her husband. As she tries to find herself, she starts to lose her grasp on reality. Or could it be something much more sinister? The Empty Space is full of twists and turns, with Grace DeWilder of Rue Morgue magazine calling it a powerful film full of excellent performances by practically every cast member. All of Andrew Hada's movies are available to rent or buy on streaming services such as Tubi, Amazon, and many other places. And if that's not enough for you, Hada Films is home to all of our short films. So take a look around and see what you like. Spend your day with Hada Films and Nothing Ventured Media. Now, let's start the bomb squad. What's up, guys? Welcome to the bomb squad. It's still Halloween time. So we're doing haunted Halloween. I wore Ghostbusters. Is Ghostbusters a haunted house movie? Kind of. There's haunted stuff in it. But
Yeah,
that's not the movie we're covering today. I just like
I'm,
this
ki- I'm,
shirt.
I'm, I'm kind of wearing a shining flannel.
Yeah,
I've kind of got
see?
some Jack Torrance going on.
Josh is wearing a castle, so we all have things that can be haunted in the past.
Yeah. What is your sweatshirt, Josh? I can't tell.
It's the Enchanted Forest from Salem, Oregon.
Oh,
Hmm.
that's
Very,
pretty haunted. That's
very
haunted.
Yeah, there's
rundown
ghosts
theme
there
park.
for sure.
There was a
Yeah.
supernatural episode about it, so
I did
Yeah.
visit a haunted room yesterday. They were like, "This room is the most haunted room," and I was like, "I definitely feel something now that you've told me."
Where was
Um,
that?
it was at Double Eagle in Las Cruces, guys. Go down to the Double Eagle.
Oh, that's a
Pick
great
up some
restaurant. Yeah,
ghosts. Yeah,
they have
it's good.
aged steaks there.
It's
Delicious.
good food or ghosts, whichever one you prefer.
Yeah.
But yes, welcome to Halloween. We're getting closer to big announcements, but that'll probably be next week is when you'll find that out. But today, to continue our haunted Halloween, last week we did Innkeepers, and today we're doing 2013's Oculus, directed and written by Mike Flanagan. I always want to say his name's Mike Flannery, but it's not. It's Flanagan.
Right. This is like one of the
It's
first Flanagan joints that really brought him to the world.
It is. It's based on one of his short films that they wanted to adapt. It stars Karen Gillan from Guardians of the Galaxy fame. This is her first American film because she was in Doctor Who, and then it stars Katie
Oh.
Sackhoff from Battlestar Galactica,
Yeah.
and that's about it. It stars other people, but those
Stars
are
his
the
wife.
most recognized.
His
all
wife.
his
Yeah.
movies stars.
All his
Oh
movies.
yes, his
Yeah.
wife is in there.
Katie Siegel. Yeah.
Siegel. I think this where they met. I want to say yes.
I
Maybe.
don't know.
Who knows? We'll
I don't
find
know
out
the
on our
story.
We Don't Ever Do Research podcast.
Yeah. Off
We
the
muddle
cuff.
through Wikipedia halfway through.
Yeah, there's a lot of things we've heard, and we'll tell you all of them.
Yeah.
Half
I have
truths and
I have
opinions.
information, but not about that, and I'm not going to find out.
Yeah, we make our own information here.
Exactly. So, since it's William's picks, I guess I'm going to talk about this because Josh talked about it last time. So, Oculus, it's about a brother and sister who they had a very violent childhood, and the sister is convinced that it is the work of a haunted mirror. The brother was also convinced, but now he's not convinced. And so they're gonna try to prove that the mirror is haunted to deadly consequences. Um, so, William, why did you pick the
Uh,
Oculus?
I
Why
mean,
did
Did
we
you
it,
watch
have
the
your
Oculus?
eye on
yeah. Why did I have,
Oculus?
my little mirror eye? It was just like, kind of like the same thing with The Innkeepers. Like, it was just another haunted house movie that, like, I remember just kind of randomly watching, and
Yeah.
it just, like, really got me whenever I first watched it. And even rewatching it again, it was just like, it's pretty scary. And I feel like it's now knowing who Mike Flanagan is, and he's like super famous now. It's like, this was kind of like the first intro to him. Like, I had no idea who he was when I first watched Oculus. But now going back, it's like, you can kind of see, like, he's really good at like making sort of like the cheesy family stuff feel really nice. And then all of a sudden just like dropping the bomb on you and like something super scary, just like getting you and like scaring the shit out of you. And I feel like this is like one of his scarier movies. I feel like this one like has a good story, has a good ending, and
Yeah.
all the scares are great.
I definitely feel like this is one of his scarier films. I do
Mhm.
think like it's also interesting. I was reading a little bit about this film. Ha ha! Tricked you. I do
Oh my
research.
gosh,
And so
you
this was
bastard!
based on a short film, and they wanted to buy it. The short film was found footage, and
Oh, okay.
a
Oh, that makes
bunch of
sense because of what
studios
they
wanted.
do.
Yeah, a bunch of studios wanted to buy it, but he didn't want to make the feature film found footage, and so it took him 4 years to find a studio that didn't want to do a found footage version of this. And as someone who's prepping a found footage movie or concept short that I don't want to be found footage in the feature, it's refreshing to hear that he stuck to his guns. I think it's yeah, I think like it's that thing where it's like the found footage is you are stuck by your limitations and that can be challenging and fun. But if you're trying to like tell the best story, sometimes you kind of got to get rid of it. Yeah, Josh, what did you think of this movie?
Yeah, this is pretty good. It's this. I've actually seen it before, so this is kind of a weird like you go back to it. I in my mind, I was like, oh yeah, this is the one where they can like see their past selves through the mirror, then they like save their mom from their dad, and I was like, that's not what happens. I don't know what movie I was
No.
thinking of, but things actually
Yeah,
go
what is
really
that?
bad in
Harry
this
Potter?
one. Yeah, I was like,
Yeah,
I must have
yeah,
been conflating it with something much less dark and sinister because I was like, this is just
yeah.
people getting their lives
Yeah,
ruined.
It is pretty
I
bleak.
do.
It's a pretty bleak movie, which is not really
Yeah, I
Andrew's
do.
bag.
I want to talk about the end of it because yeah, I do think this movie's pretty. It ends pretty bleakly, but I do want. I want to talk to it, but we'll have to get into spoiler territory. So yeah, I do think this is one of his scarier films. There's like a couple of really like even at the beginning because Carrie Gillian she plays a. She's like been obsessed with this mirror, and she's even like her job is to be an auction person, and this mirror's up for auction, and so she's like, there's a part where she's in the basement looking at the mirror, and then like there's like two covered statues, and then she looks again, and then there's three, and it's like that's the kind of cool thing. I like that. Like that sequence itself is very scary, and like I think one of the best things I don't know if this is a controversial take, but I'm not the hugest fan of Mike Flanagan. I really liked the Haunting of Hill House for 6 episodes, and then I didn't like it after that, and I haven't really liked anything after that. But I will say, even in those movies, the reason I keep I did like Midnight Mass.
Yeah, Midnight Mass was
That was
good.
Yeah, yeah,
that
yeah.
was a cool
That
one.
was good.
Yeah.
I think my problem with it is that, or no, I think even despite my problems, one thing Mike Flanagan does so well is he knows how to make scares really good.
hmm
Like he's probably one of the best right now doing it.
Yeah, I think that's why he's so famous. Because like, I also have like some problems with him too, every once in a while. But the way that he gets me with the scares is what keeps me coming back constantly. Like every single one of
Yeah.
his movies, like I've never seen a boring one of his films. Like they're all pretty fucking out there.
Something's
Yeah.
always going to happen. Although
So
watching this
so William
again,
hasn't seen Doctor Sleep, is what he's saying.
oh right.
No,
Well,
Doctor Sleep was pretty
Sleep's
good. I thought it was
cool
all
for
right.
like 50 minutes. I don't know.
I knew he liked it.
Yeah, it's a little bloated, but it was pretty good.
Um,
What were you saying, Josh?
No, like you see, like if you go back to this, you're like, oh yeah, he's just like doing all of his tricks. So once you've like, you're going back to this after seeing like 6 of his other movies or shows, you're like, oh yeah, he always kind of does these kind of like overly explanatory characters, but
Yeah,
like,
definitely.
but kind of like it's like kind of like purposeful. Like the
Right.
this movie's actually it kind of starts pretty slow because it's like the brothers and like the mental institution, like I'm getting better, and then she's
Hmm.
like the auctioneer, and she has a fiance who's like, what's going on with you? Why are you like printing out pictures of dead bodies?
Yeah,
She's like,
you'll
don't
never
worry about
understand.
it.
Yeah, give me a day.
Yeah.
Give me 24 hours.
But once they get to the house, and that's kind of like about 15-20 minutes in, she's like breaks it all down. She's like, all right, here's what we're doing.
Yeah, she's like in a
Here's this
spy
haunted
movie.
mirror.
Yeah,
Here's
Yeah.
how I'm gonna do it. And it is good because you're like, oh, I kind of like when someone is aware of like the curse stuff. You know, it's like, oh, she knows the rules, and she's like, now how do I get around them? And
right,
obviously
right.
it
Yeah.
was
How do I
wrong,
defeat this?
but
Yeah,
See, and I think
Yeah.
that's good. Like the movie's presented as she's going to prove to her brother, and I guess to everyone else, that she that the mirror's real. So she's like
Yeah.
recording it.
because it killed her
There's, like,
family. It caused her family to go crazy. And
Well, her
all this
family
shit.
died, but
Yeah.
and she blames the mirror, but nobody else does.
right.
So she's like, okay, I know the mirror sometimes it makes you like it causes you to hallucinate or see things that aren't there, and so she's like, okay, every hour my husband or my fiance is gonna call. Every like 15 minutes, there's gonna be a timer. There's gonna be like we have a bunch of light bulbs in case it tries because it'll try to break the lights. And so she's like ready to go, which I think makes it more interesting. Like
Yeah.
it's scarier when they know it's coming.
And she's been obsessed with this since she was a child. Like, the brother's getting out of the mental institution. He's like, I want to go to a diner and eat a hamburger. And she's like, okay, let's go. And then she's like, remember our promise 25 years
Yeah.
ago? And he's like, bitch, I just want to fucking eat a meal. And then,
Yeah,
like,
like
it's
let me
like,
eat a burger.
right.
Oh
And,
my
like,
God.
her personality is just, like, so off-putting, too, because she's, like, she's a nerd,
She's
but
so
about this, like,
intense.
awful stuff. Yeah. And she's, like, got this
Yeah.
whole thing set up, and it's, like, the brother just wants to be cool and, like, forget about all this. And she's like, what did the mental
Right.
institution
yeah,
do to
like
you?
Well-
literally her job, she only got this job so she could eventually like set up this mirror thing. Like her whole life is about
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
You know, so it's
Mhm.
like understandable.
Which is
it ruined their
it
lives.
is kind of
Yeah.
funny when the fiance's like, why are you getting this? And it's like, how have you guys never talked about the only thing she seems to ever talk about?
Right. Like, she hasn't been cool about this for one day, I guarantee you.
She hasn't said anything other than about the mirror, so I don't know what you've been doing, buddy boy.
Yeah.
I do like. Okay, so there's the part where she's like setting up and everything, and I think it's funny, because she's like she does the thing where she like sarcastically talks to the mirror, but she does it after every time she sets something up. So she'll be like, so she's like, she puts like, she shows her the light, and she's like, guess you're not gonna have a chance to do that.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then she like said something else, and she's like, guess you're hungry.
Yeah, yeah.
You've done
You're
it so
human
many
too.
times.
I know.
Yeah, I know.
They do, yeah. This has a lot of that. Even when she's picking up her brother, she's like, "Hey, little bro," and it's like,
Yeah,
come on,
yeah.
siblings
Yeah.
don't call each other that.
Yeah, yeah. Like, she did good, but she was in a weird movie that nobody else was really in.
But
I know, but I think it
yeah.
works.
It does- I
She's
think it-
supposed to be
Right.
like off.
She's so out
you
there.
know?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, like it's almost that thing where it kind of comes off as she's trying to and it happens a couple times in the movie where it's supposed to be kind of this big reveal for the characters, but the mirror just stays a mirror the entire time, which I think makes it like freakier because it never reacts to her.
Yeah, it never
Or you can see
shakes
like
or
another
anything.
movie,
Yeah.
where where the mirror is shaking or it's like cracking and then it goes back to normal. But like the mirror always stays the same. And like one of the cool scenes is like there's a part where they're like hitting it and as kids. Oh, we forgot to say this. So the movie's also flashing back to them as
Yeah,
kids
it chomps
to
back and
show the
forth, yeah.
first time that they first got this mirror. So it's like the mom and the dad and the kids. And like we know that eventually the mom and the dad kind of get possessed by the mirror, or at least that's what the kids think. And so there's like a part where they're trying to break the mirror and you see them hitting it and it clearly didn't work because it's still there, but they haven't showed us how. But I think like that kind of stuff is interesting because we know that there's like she lets us know that there's a way for the mirror to defend itself, but it's not like in an outlandish way. It's a very like here's what's happening.
Right. And the whole movie is kind of about like the fuzziness of memory and like how you like can you think something happened in your past, but it might not have happened at all that way. And that's how the mirror kind of like tricks the kids and the adults the whole time is like they think they're doing one thing and then like they'll go back and like watch footage of their actions and they've actually been like moving cameras around that they don't remember moving around. And so they're trying to remember this like horrific
Right.
event from like 11 or 12 years ago. And that's kind of where a lot of the drama comes in. It's like the sister's like, it was the mirror, dude. And the brother's like, that was 11 years ago and you were a kid and you were scared. Why would you think that you could remember this correctly?
Right.
And then the mirror just totally plays into that like insecurity and that faultiness of memory. And that's like really where the movie excels. And like that's why it's really interesting is because
Yeah.
it really deals with a traumatic event that happens in your life and like how much it can impact you to the point where someone might set up a mirror to do all this crazy experimental stuff versus somebody might go through therapy and try and just erase it from their mind. And it was really
Yeah.
clever and like really interesting the way that they dealt with the problems that the kids are
Yeah.
facing.
Right, right. And I think like it's also interesting. One of the things I like about this movie, so as like we go back into the past, they keep showing like how the family's progressing, like getting more evil or haunted or whatever. And one thing I like is that at no point, and Mike Flanagan does this a lot, but like at no point is the family ever really willing to give up on other members of the family. Like there's a part where there's something clearly wrong with the mom, but they're still like, Mom, like we need food because they're like hungry because nobody's buying food in the house. And so they're like trying to reason with the mom, and the mom's clearly like too far gone. But I think like that to me feels more realistic than when they're immediately like getting over it, you know, or like running away. I think of like, and it's a very different movie going for a different tone. But I think of like the Evil Dead Rises movie where they just kind of like they're like, all right, we'll just gotta kill this guy now, you know, and it's like
Oh
the
yeah.
family member.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Oh
it works
yeah,
in
Totally.
that movie
Like
because
his
it's
turns.
Just
you know
crazy.
it's also like her whole skin is like falling off, so it's not a fault against
Yeah.
that movie. But
I know what you
you've
mean.
seen it in other movies,
Yeah.
yeah. And so I like in this one that they're really fighting to keep every member of the family together, you know.
Right, because it hasn't been that long that they've been going through this, so they definitely still see their parents, and the parents like still kind of see their kids when they're
Mhm.
possessed. So I agree. It was refreshing to kind of not have it be
Yeah.
not have it be bleak in that sense. It's bleak in other
And
senses.
then
But
there's like cool parts where like there's a scene where the daughter may have caught the dad cheating on the mom, but it's never like because they show them cheating and then like the daughter kind of looks away and she looks back and they're not cheating at all, but like they're in such a position that they couldn't have like gotten in that position quickly like to fake it, but also there's clearly like a distance between the mom and the dad, so it is becomes this thing where it's like, was that the mirror tricking her, or was that like actually what happened in the mirror trick that it didn't happen to kind of play with her brain so that she doesn't really ever believe what she sees. And I think like that kind of stuff really like shines in this movie because you're really like constantly like, okay, but what's really happening?
Yeah, the ambiguity. Although I do like, because I mean, and they kind of do this like where they set it up to where he's like, "You're crazy. It's just a mirror," and you know, our dad went crazy and like killed our mom or whatever. And they kind of keep it ambiguous until like about halfway when you're like, "Oh no, this is like a cursed mirror." Okay, like they definitely have to beat it, and obviously metaphorically, it's still about like childhood trauma and like you know all of that. But it's like I do like that. They don't try to maintain that through the whole movie. They're like, all right, it's cursed. How are you going to get around this?
right, I think more modern stuff keeps it like way ambiguous, and this one definitely is like, no, for real, this is ghosts, like you're saying, and I do like that too. It's like, give me some monsters. That's fine.
Because then it's like, yeah, you don't want to be the innkeepers waiting until the last 10 minutes to have anything happen.
Look, I can talk for 45 minutes on that film, okay? Check it out.
But I think like there's a lot in there that just kind of works. I will say that one thing I didn't like that much was, and maybe it's just that they should have switched, but like I don't understand why that kid is leaving a mental institution. Like, shouldn't he be the one who still believes? If anything, like that would make maybe it's too generic to have him be like Sarah Connor.
I kind of get like he's the one who wanted to go to therapy and like be normal.
But it's not. But it's not therapy. It's like government. Like he's in a
Yeah,
Oh,
he,
it's
he was
like
he was in he
well,
was in jail.
well
He was
then
like in
he
jail.
because he shoots the dad, right? That's
And
Yeah, I
basically we
guess
know
they're
that.
well,
spoiling.
they say that at the very beginning.
Well, no, they say it at the very
Yeah.
beginning.
Do they
Like
say it at the beginning or the
He's,
end?
and
they're like
he
Oh,
you
shoots the
okay.
dad
shot
and
like
goes
you
to
shot
jail.
you shot and killed your dad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why it's so fucked up that his sister is
Then
like trying to bring all this shit up, and she's like, "No, dude, you actually didn't kill our dad," or like whatever they go through.
yeah,
Yeah.
like it's like yeah, you didn't kill like our dad who went crazy. You were like killing another victim of this like crazy mirror
Right.
who
Right.
ruined our
Right.
She's kind of
lives.
being a total
Yeah.
jerk.
Yeah, but I mean, it's like 'cause she went the opposite way, where
Mhm.
she's like, "Oh, I'm gonna obsess about this, but keep it on the inside, so people don't think I'm crazy."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Though her fiance obviously had to know.
But see, I still think that they should have. I don't know. I think he shouldn't have been. I don't. It's a weird situation.
It's very much for the plot. Like it feels very like why would he still be
Yeah.
there at
It's for
21?
that-
You know, he should have been released at 18.
We'll
Probably.
spoil. We're getting close to spoiling it, but yeah, there was like a part where, because then it's like, okay, so he's getting out, and then that's when she decides to get the mirror, so that because they promised that they would do it together, destroy the mirror together. But it's like, it's kind of like, but I mean, you don't have to do it right now. You could wait like a month.
I know. Well,
Well,
the
like,
mirror was
literally,
coming right through
it wouldn't-
at the right time.
Yeah.
Right, but it's almost like he could have just been living his life because it is based on when she gets the mirror and her like possession.
Yeah, it's a
That's
little
what I'm
perfect.
saying.
It's
So
a
they
little
almost-
too perfect.
right.
Yeah,
It's
Mhm.
it's very high
but
concept.
they also it
Yeah.
kind of wraps up the same way where it like well, we won't get into like the very ending yet, but it's just very like the whole thing is clearly like structured along this like the same thing's happening in parallel.
Yeah,
twice,
yeah.
you know? So I get what he's doing.
Which honestly, it gets very
Flanagan.
complicated,
Yeah.
but it never feels complicated. Like there's a lot of like where like eventually the kids kind of start like seeing like their past happen. It's kind of like watching themselves
Yeah.
play out their scenes as kids, but it never feels confusing. Like it always feels very clean, and I never was like, what the hell is going on? Which I feel like is really hard for like how kind of abstract this movie gets. And so I would like to applaud that. It's really good filmmaking.
I think
I
that
agree.
works because he lets us spend time with both the kid versions of them and the adult versions
Yeah.
of them. It also helps that one of them, like, it's clear a girl and a boy, so it's not hard to tell who's who.
Yeah,
And one of them has bright red hair.
I know. And the kid
But,
has the
like,
scaredest
I
face
did
ever.
notice that. Yeah, I read in the trivia that one of the things they did for the script is they put all the past scenes in italics so that people wouldn't get confused, which I thought was interesting because, like William said, like I was never confused as to whether we were in the past or the future,
Yeah.
except for the first time. But that's only because I didn't realize we were going into the past.
Right.
Right. Yeah, I was like,
And-
is this
'Cause
like
there's,
their
like-
mom?
Yeah.
Because Karen Gillian is talking about getting the mirror, and then it cuts to the dad like bringing home the mirror, and I was like, "What the fuck?"
Oh,
She sold the
yeah.
mirror. And then, after a little bit, then you're like, "Okay, I understand." But after that, like, it really lets you kind of it trusts you to trust it, but it also like it gives you the material you need to understand. What's
Yeah,
going on.
totally.
No, that's a good aspect.
I do like the way like it starts with because the dad is like some sort of
Software engineer.
fake computer
Yeah.
job. Yeah, like an engineer or something. And like it kind of starts with him being like, just I'm working, all right, just get out of my room.
Yeah.
And now that I work from home, I very much relate.
Yeah, you are that
Just
dad.
I'm like, I just need to do these stupid spreadsheets. Please don't talk to me for the next
Yeah, I'm buying a cool
Yeah.
mirror, Stephanie. Back off. Don't worry about it. You'll see the Visa bill.
Yeah, there might be a woman in here. Maybe she's a ghost. I don't know.
Yeah.
Things
Also,
are
I don't
happening.
know. The woman that he's cheating with is the ghost,
Yes.
Yeah,
It's,
I was
it's
like,
the, one, it's the
it is a
most
ghost.
previous ghost. The one that the mirror has killed the most
But-
recently.
And that's the one that she sees in the house.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. Because later she sees her all mirror-eyed up, and that's when you know they've become a mirror demon. But
Yeah.
at the beginning, she's just like, "Oh, is that like a woman? He's like a consultant or something." And I do kind of wonder, like, what's going on from the dad's perspective?
I know. They don't really ever go into
Also,
that.
well,
Yeah,
Ac-
he's very
ac-
abstract.
according to Ghost Ship, that you don't really notice until until you're about to die that there's the weird ghost that shouldn't be somewhere
Yeah,
in
yeah,
front of you. I also like that, like, yeah, they when they get possessed, they just turn into copies of themselves, but they have mirror eyes, like in
yeah.
Paddington. I thought that was cool. It was like very Coraline, where
Oh
it's like
yeah,
everything's the
totally.
Oh
same.
yeah.
There's just one thing off.
Yeah.
I thought
And
that
they
was
also do
cool.
that thing where the mirror makes you like kill yourself or be killed in like a horrific way. So if you are a ghost, you just look
Yeah,
scary because your teeth got knocked out by a hammer or you were burned. And so like your scariness
right,
kind of
right.
comes from your mode of death, which I guess that's kind of a pretty common thing for
the
ghosts.
the,
But
the, the trauma of your
Yeah,
the
death.
trauma, there you go.
It's all about
Whoa, hell
trauma.
yeah,
All,
that's
all
good.
modern
There you go.
horror is
dang,
about
I know that's
trauma.
very true.
just the most trauma film.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Get a new playbook, A24.
Yeah. I know. I wonder what we're gonna get next. Let's make more. Let's make the
I
list
hate
more.
I hate when movies are about mental illness as well.
Yeah.
Except the empty space. That's the one exception.
Unless
It's
I'm
really good.
Yeah, I wish that there was. I hate other movies that were about trauma.
I guess the last one's also.
I mean,
quite-
every horror movie has always been about trauma. There's not one that isn't
No,
about
I
it.
know. I guess it's more like the very like my parents, you know.
I think it's that, like, yeah, if you look at Nightmare on Elm Street, like that movie's about like fears as like children of like, especially of authoritative adults. But they don't really talk about that. They're just like, oh yeah, he was a groundskeeper on the school and he was the child killer and people were scared of him. And so it's like implied more. But or like, we talked about Texas Chainsaw and how that's kind of a commentary on Vietnam, but like if you're not really paying attention, you don't catch that at all. And
Right.
so I think
Well,
before
except
it
in
was a lot more.
part two, where he's a screaming Vietnam vet,
Yeah.
he's like crazy. But
But I think like you have like nowadays it's more like in Hereditary, it's literally called Hereditary.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. Shared mental illness between family members. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's just a different way to view it. That's actually one of my deep dives is going to be about is how horror has always kind of used social norms and gone against.
Yeah, and I mean that's kind of like where we're at.
but not
in,
this
like,
month.
In like just society, like we're all very concerned about mental health and like trauma and things like that.
Yeah.
So it does make sense that that's where we're at right now.
Right. I mean, right now the number one movie in America is Joker Part 2, and we're recording this early, so I assume it's making $1 billion.
Oh yeah,
you know that it's
I know.
not.
I
It's
heard it was doing
bombing
pretty
very
bad.
hard. It's doing sub-megalopolis.
Oh
numbers,
man,
Damn, I love
which
that.
I still need to see.
Yeah, same.
Which I am glad though, because Joker 1 is a really bad movie. But anyway, we're getting
Oculus
off
guys.
topic.
Look at the mirror. Take a look at the mirror, Josh.
We need to keep our eye on the mirror.
I think now we can get into spoilers.
Yeah.
So we see like everything, and then she's like, oh, also one thing that's important is that she has a 30-minute timer. It's gonna drop like an axe into the mirror,
and it's an anchor. Yeah, ship's anchor.
Before we continue, why does she ever explain why she doesn't just kill it right away? Like, what is she? She wants to prove that it's real.
Yeah,
and that's why she
has like a bunch of video cameras, and she because she wants to like vindicate her dad, which is weird because she's very obsessed about vindicating her dad, but her and her dad didn't even really have that much of a relationship when they were kids. So it's interesting that she goes for the dad angle versus the whole family angle. But that's neither here nor there. But
also like the mom kind of gets the short end of the stick, and they don't really seem to give a shit about the mom's.
Yeah, she's literally, if we're doing spoilers, she's chained to the wall. last one.
Yeah,
style.
like an animal.
Right.
Yeah. I will say that is like there's like a part where the mom is like walking around like a gorilla. And the kid's like, "Mom, are you okay?" And I'm like, "Okay."
She's not okay.
I know you're like 8 years old.
Run.
I did
Really,
after that they call a family friend who does like a very half-assed check-in. But it's like, call like the police or social services.
They can't call.
And I know that
call.
the whole thing is like, I'm not giving up on my family.
They can't call outside because the mirror takes over.
They try calling all the doctors.
No, not at the end.
Well, the kids try and call all the doctors in the phone book, and it's like, it's the same voice telling us to have our dad call. So that's why they have to go get the neighbor.
Oh,
that's how they know that the 911 calls.
Okay, maybe I wasn't paying attention.
I mean, it's a very small detail.
Very small detail. Tricked me.
I did like. I did like that scene because the neighbor's friend, like, or the friend of the family, like, brings the daughter, and the dad's like, "Huh, she's been going crazy with wild stories," and the dad literally looks like he just
I
murdered
know.
someone. Like his head, his like eyes are sunken in, and he's like sweating. His shirt's all like
Yeah.
pulled, and it's like, if I was that friend, I'd be like, all right,
He's
I'm just gonna
hiding
check
behind the
in for
door too.
that.
He's like,
Like,
"Let's go play golf next Thursday." It's like, yeah, let's do it.
yeah.
That actor just looks so
He's like,
scary.
let's play golf if you
Yeah.
want. Yeah.
Like even when they first show the dad at the very beginning of the movie, you're just like, yeah, this guy goes fucking nuts. This guy is wild
Yeah,
looking.
this guy's gonna go fucking
Yeah.
insane. Yeah. Um. So to get into spoilers, so that thing is going to land. After she proves it, and then eventually, like the house plays tricks with them and ends up back in the house, or they end up back in the house because they're trying to run away. And then the girl, she accidentally kills her
Yeah, the fiance comes to
fiance,
check on her because
which
he's
is
calling her
really
every hour.
which is really his fault because he was not supposed to show up. She specifically told
That's
him
true.
just be
Yeah,
on the
yeah.
phone.
One more fail safe.
So
Yeah.
if anything, he gaslit her into killing him.
Yeah.
And then eventually the brother is like, oh man, I'm gonna pull this kill switch for the mirror, and he does, but the girl is in front of it and she gets a mirror in her
Yeah.
head.
She gets thwomped, and then the police show up, and it's him being arrested, screaming it was the mirror, as just the same as when he was a child.
Right.
Only now, instead of just seeing the two parents in the house, he sees his sister as well. It's like collected.
Yeah.
All of them. I know the whole idea is to wrap it back around where it's parallel. I don't like the ending.
I'm not. Yeah.
I think like. Well, no, like I get what he's going for. Like it's clever, but it's almost like she's so good at knowing the tricks. While I do still think, yes, obviously she or one of them had to die. He should have like learned from her and like defeated it. I don't know.
I do feel like the ending's a little bit too. I have my problems with the ending, and that's why I'm not the hugest fan of this. But I think it's cool. I think it's scary. My biggest problem with the ending, because it's like it's too easy the way the mirror defeats her. But also, I think my biggest issue is it's almost the opposite of the Innkeepers, where you know exactly what Mike Flanagan is trying to say. He's trying to say, dealing with trauma, how two people do it, how trauma can beget other trauma. Like we always hear that, like hurt people. You hear that, but my issue is like, okay, but what are you trying to say? That there's no escaping.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those endings for sure.
Yeah,
and I will say like they always show the kids like they show them a couple of times like passed out in front of the mirror where they could die from like the anvil that's going to come down and swing. And so, to have her die by like the anvil swinging like on an image that we've already seen before, it's like a little bit less exciting, a little bit less of an interesting ending. And I do agree, it's kind of like, so this kid will just never, I guess it's like this kid will never escape the trauma because his sister won't let him in a way. But yeah, I'm not really sure like what but I don't know like what the most powerful way to like end this movie. Like how you guys are saying, it's kind of like a bummer ending, but not in like a cool way.
Yeah.
I don't know for sure what he's truly trying to say, unless it's just not that interesting.
It's not like the Guest where they win, but then he's like still out there. It's like, oh, what if for the Guest you just killed both of them? You're like,
and I think like see, and I also like that's kind of my problem with Hell House too, is because they have my favorite part is the spoilers for Hell House,
Hill House,
whatever. There's that part where that lady like she's been seeing the broken neck ghost like her whole life, and then at the end, or like she falls and breaks her neck, and she realizes that the ghost she's been seeing is actually her dead self from the future. And I thought that was really good, but also like, so that girl's whole story was just she was tortured her entire life and then murdered
by her. Yeah, it's like a loop of herself.
What am I getting from this story?
It's a less sprawling. The ghost story starring Casey Affleck. But no, and that's kind of funny because
that movie rocks.
Hill House weirdly, because a lot of Mike Flanagan stuff like ends depressing like this. Oculus, Hill House does this weird swerve after that episode where it's like, actually, it can be good being a ghost.
Yeah.
It's like, I didn't take that from
also,
it.
Yeah,
Like
that also is the problem.
you don't even
Yeah.
know this. Maybe that's why I think Midnight Mass works, because it's just like, all right, just got to kill this
all good.
vampire, and then,
Yeah, it's killed. Just got to
then
kill
we're
the
good.
cancer. Yeah. So I do think the ending kind of needs something.
I agree.
Like there is that thing of like what there's that movie Smile, which if you've seen The Empty Space, it feels very familiar. But I think by the end of that movie also does the same thing, and I think that's kind of the issue. Where even like spoiler alert for The Empty Space's alternate ending, the original ending of The Empty Space, which is also about mental illness and kind of overcoming grief, was that the creature or whatever it is kind of gives Amy like they like offer her these kind of unlimited cosmic powers.
The cosmic power, yeah.
And she's like about to get it. It cuts to black. My problem with that movie was that when I was writing The Empty Space, I was in the middle of whatever my mental health was doing. And so the idea of getting cosmic powers to heal yourself sounded amazing and like it was possible. But once you get off over that, you're like, no, that's not how it works. You're just going to kind of live with this forever. And so I didn't want to give the audience watching this movie this kind of false narrative that like you can save, even though it's an allegory, it's like the idea there is that you can like there's a
like
trick
a miracle
to
cure,
fix
yeah.
it. Yeah, and there's not really, and that's why The Empty Space ends the way it ends. If you don't know how, go to Screenbox. But because I wanted to keep that idea that like, oh no, like it's an ongoing battle, but that doesn't mean you give up. You have to keep going, And so I feel like this movie and Smile, like they have that introduction, and this movie's a lot better about it because it's very much about trauma. Where Smile is just kind of uses it as like window dressing. But like I don't know by the end of it what I'm like.
Yeah,
because like if I
life
had someone
sucks,
suffering from
everyone
trauma.
dies.
This movie kind of like, no, you should abandon them. Like, that sister got him in trouble.
Well, that's like, how like Spielberg says now, like, oh, if I was making Close Encounters of the Third Kind today, I wouldn't have him abandon his family to go on the spaceship, but that's where I was like mentally when I was in my 20s. And it's like, I do wonder if Mike Flanagan would make this the same, like now, like, because I'm sure he was going through it when he
I know. Yeah, I definitely agree. And it's like there's so much there already that's like so sensitive about trauma and just thinking about his characters that it's like it seems like there would be more of like a humane ending because the rest of the movie does treat every character so like sensitively. Like everyone's really sweet.
Yeah,
to each other
like it
can.
clearly like like he loves his family. The family loves each other. Like he clearly writing it like loved this family, And I think you can kind of tell when someone's writing something where they're like, no, I care about these characters. So you're like,
yeah. Which is like, again, I think that's why I don't like the ending where she gets killed, because I feel like we know this character so well inside and out, and for her to get killed in kind of like a twist style ending, it just kind of feels like a disservice to both of their
characters. It's kind of a shock ending.
I can see it.
Yeah. Where
I guess I'm almost like.
Not helpful.
I would have much rather had there been like a deadite break into the cabin and he's giant and they have to poke him in the eye.
Exactly.
That's the kind of endings I like.
I mean, that's very ocular.
Yeah. It wasn't very oculus of me. One thing I do want to bring up, and maybe that's why it's better that William is picking this month, is, and I noticed it from Innkeepers and now this movie, and then kind of thinking of like The Shining, those kind of like haunted house movies. I wonder if is like a trait of haunted house movies to kind of end.
I mean, pretty much.
Like a lot of the big ones do kind of have that ending. It's always like that one last like laugh of the house or the haunted.
Yeah,
I mean,
Insidious,
the Conjuring
whatever,
is
kind of the same thing.
It's pretty cool. Like about the ending. Like I don't remember that one being super bleak.
No, I think The Conjuring, and maybe that's why they're a little bit more popular too. Because I know The Conjuring, by the end of it, they're always like, "We did it! Let's go play more guitar."
They always win their little battles.
I've only seen The Nun.
Oh
which takes place in the Conjuring universe. So
but the Nun I think is a demon.
But she does defeat the Nun.
And I think like you think of The Shining even, and it has that kind of dark ending. You think of like even Poltergeist, the house is destroyed. Like there's not like a lot. Like everyone's if you're not dead, then you've lost everything
Yeah, I
in
mean,
these movies. And I think
especially books
that's
too. Like the
interesting.
book of The Haunting of Hill House is like a very bleak ending. Like I feel like most of the time whenever I read like a haunted story, it's like never that happy. And
Mm,
so I mean, I guess that you're right. Like the
yeah,
trademark is kind of like a sad ending. I wouldn't say always, but yeah. Now that you ask that question, probably like 80% of the time,
a pretty
it's
good. Yeah,
everyone just gets fucked up.
I would say like a good enough to
Yeah,
call it a
yeah,
trope because there is like exceptions to the rule. But for the most part, even like Evil Dead, which is like Ash always wins by the end, but then he always gets screwed at the last
yeah.
second by
I mean,
something.
even like Drag Me
Yeah.
to
It
Hell
has
has like
that.
it's like you think the movie's good and it ends, and then all of a sudden the very like I feel like that's kind of just like a
Yeah.
horror thing in general, like the bleak ending.
See, and I I wonder if like Drag Me to Hell, but I think like I like it a lot more in Drag Me to Hell because it promised
Yeah,
that from the
yeah,
beginning.
Yeah, well, and Drag Me to
I
Hell
was
is so
not surprised
right,
when she
right.
gets
silly.
It's literally
dragged, you
called.
know.
Everything's
Yeah,
so crazy in that.
Yeah.
Whereas this movie feels very grounded.
right.
Like these
This is like a
characters are
real.
very
This is a
like
drama. Yeah,
specific.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's like
Whereas in Drag Me
fun,
to Hell is
crazy.
just
Yeah,
bananas. Yeah.
Right. But Drag Me to Hell also deals with the mental illness that it kind of forgets about. But Sam Raimi was like, he was just
yeah.
Sam Raimi it up.
Yeah,
He gets
he
lost.
does not love his characters. He's like, what is
Right.
this
How do I fuck
idiot
this
up
person
to?
up so hard?
How are they gonna get
Yeah,
owned?
How can I ruin this grocery store
yeah,
clerk's
yeah.
life more?
Give me a minute.
But yeah, I think but I think this one like especially the
Hmm.
scares is really well done. Like the acting is so good
Yeah, the
that
editing is
I
really
know it
cool in
really
the
was. It
yeah,
past
was
and future as it
very
bleeds into
expert.
one another. Yeah.
and I think it's like it's interesting. I do say like so he wanted to the first version of this was found footage, so it's clearly on a camera, and then he wanted to make it a regular movie. He should have just taken those cameras out of there. Like they're so like I'm always like every time I see the
I know
cameras, I'm
because it's
like,
not
why
she's
are
going to submit
those
it to like a scientific research facility,
I thought it. I thought it was live
right? And it's
streaming or
just going to
something. Like something was
yeah.
like there was
I
a
could
reason, you know.
I kind of get. I was thinking that. Yeah. It's just like, what are the cops gonna
I
do with
know.
this
They're like, wow, this is
footage?
some fucked up shit. Do not watch. This will traumatize you again
Yeah,
as a new viewer.
But then they'd be like, oh, I guess the mirror is evil. I don't know. They're cops. They're
Yeah,
just gonna
yeah.
ignore it. But I do wonder.
yeah. What are the cops gonna do? They're gonna put it in the evidence locker. And
Yeah,
never
like, yeah,
look
send
at
that kid to jail. Fuck that
it.
kid.
Arrest a random
In
dude.
45 years, someone with a cold case podcast is
Yeah,
gonna
yeah.
like figure it out.
Yeah.
For real. That would be so funny.
That would be actually kind of a funny
I know.
sequel to the. That'd be like an interesting premise to this movie. Like
Yeah, I mean,
someone
this
finding.
could be a franchise for sure.
Yeah.
Like, it's like not a big enough movie to do
Yeah.
that, but like there could be an Oculus 2, 3, and 4.
Oculus 2 through
Yes,
the looking glass.
and the brother and sister are Lewis and
Yeah,
Carol.
we got it.
Just kidding. No, I'm just joking.
Got it.
You could do it.
Please.
Make it
But
happen.
no, I think this movie. I think it's fun. I think it's worth a watch if anything else, just because
Yeah.
it's very interesting. But yeah, no, I didn't like the ending. I think that kind of ruined it for me the first time. But I still liked it. Like as I was watching this, I was like, why don't
Yeah.
I like this movie? And then I got to the end, I was like, oh, that's
You're like, oh
But
yeah.
up
Yeah,
until
I would
that
say
point-
that's all like way good enough to like kind of just like watch the ending and be like, well,
Yeah.
that's
Oh, yeah.
this is sitting correctly with me, but that's okay. I would recommend this and show this to
Yeah.
other people. This
No,
is like
it's
a
a
good
good-
movie to like show people that like scare.
definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a good like haunted house
Yeah.
or like a Halloween pick
Yeah,
to watch on Halloween because it's kind of like quiet but not that quiet.
Quite
It's
chilly.
funny
yeah.
when it needs
And
to
the
be,
plot is
you know.
interesting enough to keep everybody engaged.
It's got
Hmm. And they kind of
some
repeat
jokes.
the premise a couple of times so you don't get lost. But yeah, good times. I would recommend this movie, Josh.
Yeah, no, I think it's great. I'd definitely say watch that movie. Watch our review of The Innkeepers. Don't watch The Innkeepers, but then watch Oculus.
Yeah.
That's my recommendation.
Coolio. Perfect. And also, guys, I forgot to mention this, but you'll know by the time this episode airs. The Last Ones is now on Screenbox. I know what you're thinking.
I don't even know.
I want to watch The Last Ones,
Right.
but I want to pay a monthly subscription. Well, guess what? Your dreams have been fulfilled. So here's what I want you to do. Go watch Oculus, then go rent The Last Ones on Amazon, and then watch it on Tubi, and then watch it again on Screenbox. Just that little thing, we'll appreciate it. That goes a long way. Watching it 3 times in a row.
And if you're in the Portland area, go to Movie Madness and rent the physical version of The Last Ones.
Borderland and Empty Space.
And then
they're all there.
Come
do
on.
a horror night.
A horror and grand heist.
A horror.
Exactly.
A horror night.
Yeah.
But yeah, guys, we'll see you guys next week. What's gonna be the haunted place next week? Who knows? Haunted mirror, haunted apartment. Who knows what random object's gonna be haunted next time? But we'll see on the Bomb Squad. This is me trying to